Hold on. Hello, all. It is I, Tot, here with a new video, a new live stream, because I saw a video. I saw a video title for something. And again, like I say, I never ever say I'm the original purveyor of these ideas. Okay. But I think I noticed something a lot of people don't, though. I'm happy about that, where AI is alchemy. I made a video on it on my channel, which we will see later. But then I know somebody else made a video about it. I think it's from a person who said that AI was also alchemy. Now, what I did in my video was, again, the philosophical, more underneath details of the AI's alchemy, idea, hypothesis, what have you. And I basically called AI advanced illusions. How it makes you think what you're doing is amazing and cool, but it's just not. It goes against the laws of equivalent exchange. You see, AI should be an alchemy of ideas, You put something, you get something out. And what's the one thing you see all these companies say? You don't need this, you don't need to pay this person, that person. You see, I believe that's a good thing in terms that I think we're coming more back into one man army type of things, type of workforces, which I've noticed with some YouTubers saying so, and how I use it with the thumbnails, my shorts. I'm trying to get better use with it as a creative casualty of it. So now we're going to go watch that video, not mine, not my first, but we're going to watch the second one. Okay. That'll be mine. The first one will be theirs. I just want to see how much live. This is the first time I watched this video. Let's see. Um, Let me just get up YouTube on this. Let's find out. Okay. Okay, here we go. Medieval mindset. The same medieval magic. We'll see this, okay? Okay. We are now live. We're going to watch together.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an
everyone on the future.
Okay.
AI has been the hot topic for the past few years, but it seems like nobody's noticed that it's actually just medieval alchemy. Duh. We're all so busy scrambling and trying to figure out how AI is going to change everything when all we need to do is look 1,000 years into the past to figure it all out. You're of course already familiar with what artificial intelligence is, so your first question here is probably, what's alchemy? Well, to the medieval mind, alchemy was this weird, specialized branch of natural philosophy that thought it could uncover all the deepest secrets of nature. Alchemists basically...
Yes, and man's constant struggle to learn all. Alchemy stands as a very interesting footnote when it comes to more figuring out, because I think alchemy tries to be a fusion of magic and science. It tries to make sense of what's in the world and what's about, what makes up it. Much like the Greeks figuring out atoms well before we did, with the idea of cutting and pulling down matter to its basic materials. So yeah, it's fascinating. Dude, what were these people wearing back then? I'd like to thank I'd like to thank this YouTuber for this. I hope this is okay. I'm not trying to steal it or anything. I'm giving them full credit. Medieval mindset. Good
He
stuff.
wanted to create an agent of perfection, something that could turn lead into gold and cure human illnesses. Coincidentally, just like Sam Altman, they tried to constantly sell everyone on the future implications of their experiments instead of what was actually doable in the present moment. You might use AI all the time. I know the corporate world and American universities pretty much run on ChatGPT at this point. But could you actually explain to me in an in-depth way how these large language models work? And before you copy paste some long Wikipedia answer into the comment section, the answer is no, because even the engineers who built them don't fully understand how they work. This is called the black box problem.
It's just like the Shogoth incident I went over. We don't know what we're messing with. We don't know. We don't have any idea. So yeah, here we are trying to figure out how to rearrange chairs in the Titanic instead of figuring out how not to make it sink. Here we are. Okay, here we go. Keep going.
You see, these engineers design the architectures and training processes for something like ChatGPT, but if you were to ask them, they don't actually fully understand the internal logic of how these models arrive at specific outputs. Wouldn't you believe it, flying blind like this is actually an incredibly medieval concept. Medieval Europe was a truly God-fearing place in a way that not even the most religious among us could imagine today. Everything was completely steeped in Christianity, including alchemy, and the alchemists saw themselves as co-creators with God who could change the very essence of matter from one thing to another. One of their main pursuits was to discover the Philosopher's Stone, shout out all my Potterheads, which was a concept that dates all the way back to the Greek mystic Zosimos of Panoplos in the 4th century. Basically, the alchemists figured they could create this legendary substance. Not only would it turn lead into gold, it would also heal all ailments and give human beings immortality. Like I said, medieval Europe was extremely Christian, and if you've ever read the Bible, you'll notice that a lot of the patriarchs in the Old Testament apparently lived incredibly long lives. We're talking 800 or 900 years. So if you're a medieval alchemist reading this, it's not crazy to think that maybe those biblical patriarchs had access to some secret that you need to discover. Elias Ashmole was a 17th century alchemist, which is a little outside the boundaries of the Middle Ages, but he was drawing on medieval knowledge when he claimed that the history of the Philosopher's Stone went all the way back to Adam, who learned about the stone directly from God. This information was then passed down through Moses and Jacob and all the other main characters in the Old Testament.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard that connection. The Philosopher's Stone Adam. Never heard of that one. That's new. Wouldn't that technically be the apple or the opposite of it? You know, just spring up life and all that, huh? That's weird. That's different. Okay. Keep going.
But it had been lost somewhere in the distant past. Also, alchemy wasn't just a Western European pursuit either, and it was actually the Byzantines in the East, along with Arab scientists, who initially picked up where the Greeks left off. I'm gonna get a little technical here for a second, but just stay with me because I promise this all links back to AI. There was this 8th century Muslim alchemist named Jabir ibn Hayyan, and he was big on the idea that every metal was a combination of fire, earth, water, and air. So if you can imagine that all metals have some combination of these 4 basic properties, you should theoretically be able to transmute one metal into another by
just like I said, the Greeks, when they figured out the atmos, or the cutting of matter to smaller matter. The ancients, they were a different breed, man. They were built different because I'm surprised stuff still keeps getting discovered today, honestly. Straight up with you. I don't know. Man, how do you do that? How do you do the whole chapters thing. Also, if you want to get real crazy, maybe the data centers are transmutation circles or something, kind of like how they did in Full Metal Alchemist.
Rearranging these properties.
Okay.
That's how you would be able to turn lead into gold. The change could only happen from some outside substance, which was called xerion in Greek and al-iksir in Arabic, which was Latinized into the word elixir. This elixir, Jabir figured, was some sort of powder, and you could somehow make it from the Philosopher's Stone. In the same way, a modern neural network is just a bunch of dead math until you apply the elixir of training data and optimized weights. That is what transmutes the code into something that feels alive, the responses you get from your AI agent. Now, I want to give credit to our medieval ancestors here because there were plenty of thinkers throughout the Middle Ages who called bull on all of this. There was the legendary Persian philosopher Avicenna, who was also an incredibly influential physician, and he basically tore this whole alchemy theory down, saying those of the chemical craft know well that no change can be effected in the different species of substances, though they can produce the appearance of such change. To put it simply, he's saying it's easy to drum up hype and sell people on the idea of this magic process, but those who had actually worked with this stuff knew that it was impossible. That brings us to our current
Nothing
AI
new
problem.
under the sun.
Now, the title of this video says that AI isn't the future, but I'd like to clarify that I'm not some Luddite and I'm not actually against AI technology generally.
Right.
It does seem to have some beneficial use cases, especially in the medical field, and I think it is something that's going to be part of our existence for the foreseeable future. What I am saying is that history teaches us that we should be wary of any miraculous thing that's going to fix all of our problems in one fell swoop. All you need to do is look at medieval alchemy, which proves that this pursuit of perfection is part of the human psyche, and it's never quite worked out the way it was supposed to. There's this insane book that came out recently called On the Future of Species, and it's all about how AI is literally primed to create synthetic life. Is it ethical? Who cares? We can finally perfect the human genome and create a race of super soldiers. But before we get to that, I mentioned earlier the black box, the place where complexity hides the truth. To be totally honest, I've been dealing with a version of that in my own personal finances. I'm the type of person who signs up for free trials to test out new editing tools or research archives and then completely forgets to cancel them. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Rocket Money. As someone who gets easily overwhelmed by multiple accounts, their singular view feature has been a lifesaver. I securely linked my checking, savings, and even my business accounts, and now I have a single dashboard to monitor my overall financial health without logging into 4 different portals. But the best part for me is the subscription management. Rocket Money automatically tracks every recurring charge I have and puts them in one consolidated list. It's helped me stay on top of those forgotten trials I mentioned earlier, and it even helps me cancel them with just a few taps. Go to rocketmoney.com/mindset to get started for free.
Man, it's one thing I really don't like in the modern world. There's always so many passwords in place. You're gonna forget something. You're gonna miss something. You're gonna forget. You're gonna misplay. You're gonna do something. And most of these companies want you to do that. They're betting on it. That's their business model. Like Planet Fitness, for gosh, it's like why did every company turn to Planet Fitness? You don't gotta be there. They want you to come in. They don't want you there. They do everything in their power not to make where you can work out. Don't attract the type of people who want to work out. Fair enough, But still, it's just, I don't know, man. It just annoys me that they have all these shady, stupid business things. Just like, why do we need all these tabs and stuff and all that? It's like, why can't we just go back to basic, easy, simple stuff? I don't get it. Good for him having a sponsor, though. I'm not trying to dog on him, just the idea, though. That's funny.
You can also scan the QR code here on the screen or click the link in my description. Unlock even more features when you sign up for premium. Start transmuting your spending into savings at rocketmoney.com/mindset. So you know how I said before that alchemists saw themselves as co-creators with God? Well, they believe that everything is made of a base prima materia that can be broken down and reorganized. In his new book on the future of species, the genomic entrepreneur Adrian Wolfson says that with AI, we're making this alchemist's dream an actual reality. For my money, the term genomic entrepreneur sounds incredibly dystopian, but I guess that's beside the point. Wolfson writes, and I quote, "The impulse to blend the anatomical traits of other species with those of humans appears to be hardwired into our imagination." And he's totally right. In the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel sees 4 beasts emerge from a burning cloud. Each has wings and 4 faces, that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. There was also the creature Barak, a fusion between a mule and a donkey with wings and a human face that was said to have carried Muhammad on his journeys. Wolfson claims that with the new neural network technology of AlphaFold 2, we can take the structures of complex proteins and actually predict them. That means we would be able to create new ones, and if we can create new proteins, that would suggest that we can create new forms of life.
I mean, that's
When
another.
I first created
That's
PR, I
another,
handed it over to Codex to take a first
connection
pass.
to my stories. I didn't
Codex-
see that.
One more
I wrote a story called Hot Pile Eugenics, where you have 2 people, 2 corporate executives designing and making and marketing like a biological billboard, I called it, a walking biological billboard, and taking up traits that are more acceptable, more pleasant, without caring about the outputs, the outcome. And I didn't know anything about this before. I'm like, this is neat. It's horrifying. It's very horrifying. I'll give you that. I didn't make that story to be funny. I made sorry, Halloween stories, showing apathy and just taking out the life from biology, I guess. I don't know. So yeah. Let's keep going.
quote from Wolfson here. He says, "Biology now stands at the threshold of transitioning from a largely descriptive science into a generative one." Dude, this is literally just medieval alchemy. We've tried all of this before. There was this alchemist named Paracelsus who was working at the tail end of the Middle Ages into what we would now call the Renaissance. He had this crazy idea that life didn't actually require a womb, and with the right ingredients and a controlled environment, you could theoretically create a human, or maybe even something better than a human. In his seminal work, De Natura Rerum, Paracelsus says that human semen is the primary seed, which makes sense. According to his theory, if you sealed it up in a cucurbit, which was a glass vessel, and buried it in horse dung for 40 days, something miraculous would happen. Of course, the warm dung would provide a steady, gentle heat that mimicked the warmth of a womb. It makes total sense. After 40 days, a transparent, human-like form would start to emerge. It would then have to be fed on human blood for 40 weeks to reach maturity. The goal for the alchemists wasn't just curiosity or trying different things in some early form of the modern scientific method. They wanted sovereignty over nature. For our AI overlords, sovereignty over information apparently isn't enough. They want the power to create and edit human life. Quickly back to Paracelsus for a second. Don't you wonder what kind of personality would come up with an idea like this? Well, he was known for outbursts of swearing. He loved to throw temper tantrums and insult everyone around him. One of his close companions wrote of him, "The 2 years I passed in his company, he spent in drinking and gluttony day and night. He could not be found sober an hour or 2 together." I mean, that is kind of relatable, but still. This was the man who was trying to unlock the secrets of the universe and attain ultimate power. Obviously,
Man, he was like medieval Watson and Crick, but without the Watson or the Crick. He's a one-man Watson Crick getting drunk and all that, trying to figure out this. That's deep. Another little connection there. It's funny. It's amazing. I went to college. You'd be amazed how much work gets done at the bar than at the lab. You'd be amazed. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Ugh, I don't want to part of that world ever again, thank God.
Paracelsus never achieved his goal of creating human life, but he was a major pioneer in the field of what we now know as toxicology, and he was clearly a tortured genius. I guess in some ways you could say he shot for the moon, he missed, but he landed in the stars. Let's come back to the present day and take a look at what the AI guys are saying. Sam Altman claimed in an interview that AGI, or artificial general intelligence, will be the most significant technological development in human history. According to Altman, it has the potential to solve every problem we face. That sure does sound a lot like what the Islamic alchemist Jabir ibn Hayyan said about the Philosopher's Stone. He claimed it could bring perfect health and rejuvenation to a decayed world. So Altman is saying here that he views AGI as a singular universal fix for the human condition, but I think we all know that reality is always more complicated than that. Demis Hassabis, the co-founder of DeepMind, has said similar things, and his stated two-step mission is to solve intelligence and then use that to solve everything else. Why does that sound so familiar too? Oh, that's right, because the 13th century English philosopher and alchemist Roger Bacon said the same thing 800 years ago. He was seeking something called scientia integralis, a universal science that linked the material world to the soul.
Oh, grand unified theory of everything. Kind of reminds me of my theory of bend, break, and blend. Grand united theory of creativity against grand united theory of life. It's fascinating.
Just like Roger, Demis Hassabis is essentially looking for the single source code of reality, the key to open up every lock. Let's go back to Altman for a second, because I think for most of us, he's the face of this whole AI movement. He repeats this one phrase all the time, which is that AGI will be a breaking point in history. As I was researching this video, that kept standing out to me: breaking point, breaking point, breaking point. I then, of course, realized that Altman was just repeating a medieval concept. Have you ever heard of the three Hermes, also known as the Hermes Trismegistus? No? All right, let me fill you in.
Yep, some guy 3 times better than Hermes or something like that, I think. Funny stuff. I don't know why Hermes gets so much hate, and weird hate at that, but anyway.
Medieval Latin culture, especially starting in the 12th century, adopted a specific legend to explain how high-level knowledge survived the major disasters of history. So if the entire world was flooded during the Noah's Ark story in the Bible, how did humans rebuild? To answer this burning question, medieval thinkers came up with a sacred genealogy of 3 main characters who were each appointed by God to basically—
Okay, this is what I thought it was. Okay, I was wrong.
Protect and restore the secrets of nature. The first was Enoch, who was there before the Great Flood. He was carried off to heaven, and he was the first to get this divine wisdom. Then there was, of course, Noah, who was saved by God during the flood. He was thought of in the medieval mind as a kind of bridge figure, so he's carrying the seeds of knowledge through all of the destruction. Then we come to Mercurius in post-flood Egypt, and he's the greatest of them all. He's a king and a philosopher and a prophet who formally creates the liberal and mechanical arts, which of course includes alchemy. So to sum it all up, in the medieval view, the Great Flood of the Noah's Ark story was this huge informational reset that left humanity in a darkened state that they had to be recovered from. Just like Mercurius is the final figure who comes to restore knowledge after this global disaster, these guys like Sam Altman seem to think of themselves and AGI generally as this tool that's going to restore human potential after this flood of chaotic data that's been released on us and has been beating us over the head since the advent of the internet. This is the missing piece, the Philosopher's Stone that we need to ascend to the next level of humanity. We can really go down the rabbit hole here, and the modern medievalist Michela Pereira talks a lot about how alchemists really made sure to distinguish themselves from both just being theory guys or just being craftsmen who got their hands dirty. They considered themselves this unique class of philosophers who thought with their hands. The most radical idea that the alchemists had, of course, was that you could be God. You could break a substance and reduce it to its formless state before giving it its ultimate perfect form. This is literally exactly how large language models are built. They take the base matter of human culture and knowledge, so basically the entire internet, break it down into this mathematical soup, and then reform it into a perfected AGI that can speak every language and solve every problem. Even before the rise of AI in the 2020s, it's been obvious for a long time that tech bros like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel actually have a weirdly negative view of humanity, which is horrifying because they hold so much influence over us and we're humanity. If you listen to the new AI pioneers like Alexander Wang, who was on Theo Vaughn's show about a year ago, their whole attitude is basically that humans are corruptible and imperfect. It's really hard to increase shareholder value when you need to eat and poop and sleep. But with AI, now there's an opportunity. AI is infinitely scalable and it doesn't need to sleep or poop. So now, of course, this is turning into a crazy power grab and a massive AI bubble where these companies are trying to replace flawed human labor and decision-making with the perfection of artificial intelligence. I mentioned tech bros, and they really do have a lot in common with medieval alchemists. Plus, I think it's important that we understand the personalities of the puppet masters who pull the strings of our digital.
I know a lot of things. I've seen alchemists being the bad guys in a number of media. Now I kind of see why. One of my favorites is Full Metal Alchemist. I believe that was one of the best ones. Like introduced me to alchemy and lots of sciences and chemistry and all that. It's fascinating. It's about as real as this. Sam Altman thing's gonna cure everything. I'll give you that. Like that anime is more real than that.
World. Before we do that, super quick, I've got a Patreon link in the description below. If you want to be part of the Medieval Mindset Book Club, get access to the podcast and video scripts and the Medieval Mindset reading list and special content that doesn't get posted on my main channel, as well as a special shout out at the end of every single one of my videos, go sign up today. Anyway, I've talked a lot about Sam Altman, but what about Jensen Huang, the NVIDIA guy? Boy, he sure does remind me of Alain Delille, the 12th century French polymath. A polymath is a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning across different fields, and polymath is the medieval mindset word of the week. So try to weave that into some conversations over the next few days. Alain Delille was another medieval genius, and he wrote this masterpiece called the Anti-Claudianus. It's a poem, and in the poem, nature looks at the world and sees that it's corrupted by vice. She decides that the only way to save humanity is to create a new kind of man who is physically, intellectually, and morally perfect. Maybe you think you know where this is going because you read Frankenstein, but I assure you, you're wrong. Just like you or I would do, nature gathers the 7 liberal arts, grammar, logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy to build a chariot that can travel to the heavens. Then along comes prudence. Now, it's worth mentioning that like most medieval writing, this is an allegorical poem, and these sort of intangible ideas like nature and prudence are depicted as living beings. Anyway, prudence takes the chariot and drives it all through the celestial spheres. Along the way, she encounters the limits of human reason and has to be helped by faith and theology to finally reach the throne of God.
Why is it so hard to find a 6-figure job these days? Everything used to be so much simpler.
This is Bob. He misses the good old days, a simpler time.
But wait, we in the present day have reached the limits of human reason. But instead of using faith and theology to ascend to divinity, we're using algorithmic models that nobody really understands. Interesting. In the end of Delille's poem, God grants a soul to the new man and nature crafts a body for it. It all wraps up in this big boss fight where the new man and the virtues fight against and defeat the vices, which are greed and luxury and pride and so on and so forth. Now, this poem isn't about alchemy in the turning lead into gold sense, but it's actually super alchemical in its philosophy. Alchemists obviously wanted to purge metal to find the gold within, and in the poem, nature purges the elements to create the body of the new man. It all ties into this idea that as humans, we carry an inherent imperfection within us, but there's something out there, something that we have the power to discover that would somehow do away with that imperfection and allow us to step into a new ascended life. At this point, I'm sure you're probably wondering what literally any of this could have to do with Jensen Huang. Well, in the poem, Delille focuses really specifically on the physical requirements and ingredients that would be needed to create this new man. He's locked in on the material structure of perfection. That's Huang in a nutshell. When you look at all of the top AI guys, he's the one who's the architect of the material. There's those like Altman who give these prophecies about how AI is going to save the world and cure cancer, blah, blah, blah. Huang isn't as concerned with that. He's concerned about the physical hardware. Let me frame this in alchemist's term first so we know what we're talking about. For medieval alchemists, the athanor, a word derived from the Arabic al-tanur, which means oven or furnace, was the most important piece of equipment you could have. It was designed to to maintain a steady, unfluctuating temperature for weeks or even months without the alchemist having to stay awake to tend the fire. You see, when these guys were trying to turn lead into gold, they weren't just blasting everything with fire. They actually believed in this really specific progression of temperature that was supposed to mirror the growth of a child, exactly what Paracelsus was trying to do with the horse dung. Heat grade 1 was a gentle warmth called the heat of a human. Then there was heat grade 2, the heat of a setting hen, which was a little hotter to encourage the quickening of matter. Next, they would crank things a bit higher to grade 3, the heat of calcination, which was a stronger fire to strip away impurities. Finally, they would max out at heat grade 4, which was the melting fire. This was the most intense heat that was used for the final transmutation into gold. Jensen Huang and his boys at NVIDIA are really concerned with heat too, because if you want to turn AI technology into something usable and profitable, the physical conditions have to be just right. The data centers that Huang supplies are all about thermal management. The chips are liquid cooled because the heat to compute is so intense that it could actually destroy the hardware that generates it. This is where all the controversy about AI's water usage comes in. I'm sure you've seen this on social media. These data centers are a huge drain on the local energy grids of the areas they occupy because they need an uninterrupted power supply to keep the hardware running 24/7. So the alchemist's belief that intensity plus time equals transformation is actually becoming a reality.
I like that.
If you
I like that.
throw enough energy at a large enough data set for a long enough time, intelligence starts to emerge from the noise. That's the gold being transformed from the lead of all of our informational randomness on the internet. So
I guess that makes truth, though, about diamonds not being made by hugs and oysters, I guess, I just talked about with time, huh? Intensity times time, huh? It's fascinating. I like that. It's a very glad you're supposed to say for that.
let's land the plane here. I think we're all a little scared of AI, and rightfully so. It's been forced into literally everything against our will, and it feels like nobody truly understands what it's capable of. But it's worth mentioning that people in the Middle Ages were terrified of alchemy too. They said it was witchcraft, and clergymen were constantly calling out for being satanic. These alchemists claimed they could cure all diseases and create immortal beings and turn lead into gold, but they never actually achieved any of the insane stuff they said they would. However, all of their experimentation laid the groundwork for the modern fields of chemistry and biology and medical science. Maybe AI won't cure cancer or bring about world peace, but it might have some other downstream effects that could actually be pretty helpful in the long run. For now, you should definitely subscribe to your favorite YouTube alchemist if you haven't already, which is me, because I'm here turning these ridiculous historical comparisons into pure gold. And I want to know, what do you think? Are we right to be afraid of AI, or should we welcome our new overlords with open arms? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm John. This has been Medieval Mindset.
Okay, now we're going to go into my videos. I'm going to find out where I put the one I'm thinking of. It was before, it was at my old location. Let's see here. Okay, I found it. Okay. is yeah, I'm sorry. This is my first. This is my first. Let's just. Okay. Okay, here's my video I made in 2 months. 2 months ago. We're gonna watch it. This is me, my old location. Let me get me a little snack. Be right back. Hope everybody's having a good time. Hope everybody is enjoying themselves. Just a little snack. Sorry, I get very hungry. Apparently, when I drink too much. Sorry. Okay. I'm back. I'm back. Todd here with a new video, and I promised it. I'm delivering on it. I'm giving my perspectives on AI because AI, as an acronym, means more to me than artificial intelligence, which I don't think it really hits that as intelligent. I don't know. Intelligence is such a diverse and wide-spanning field. It's not possible for us humans to know all about. How the heck is a machine going to? And yeah, AI is a good tool. It's a good little search bar. I'll give you that. But the AI, I'm taking the word A and I'm putting it literally. Because you see, I believe a lot of people see what they see as AI and what I see as AI, okay? I'm not trying to be pretentious, not trying to be out there, but this is what I feel. And so I've come to the conclusion of after using a couple AI tools for a while now, and watching the results of AI, and they're very convincing. I believe a lot of people think of it as an alchemy of ideas, AI. The O is silent and not in there. And that comes from my ideas as a writer of putting in my work, my, again, blood, sweat, and tears in my writing, my thought process, my brain. There's sometimes when I write, my brain feels like it ran a marathon or it got beat up, like straight up. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about that. And I think that's what the main thing technology tries to do is bridge that, where you're not paying too much for what you want. I think that's a bigger issue in the world where people want the effect, they don't want the cause. There's a big motto in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, strongman, track, few of the sports I've dabbled in heavily. It's like everybody wants to be a black belt, nobody wants to get on the mat. Everybody wants to lift heavy weights, but nobody wants to go to the gym. And that's just... Now, I'm going more for the philosophical in terms of, again, kind of like Medieval Mindset, but he did a lot better job. I talk really fast in these videos. I didn't notice that. I should remake some of these ones that should be better, like could do better. And yeah, alchemy of getting something for nothing, how we're trying to subvert that. That's what I was getting at. I might remake this one. I'm thinking about remaking a lot of my videos that did really well, like anything over 10, 20 views, just remake it. because I have a lot of new audience members here, and I'd like them to have a full experience and just getting rid of stuff that doesn't work. So yeah,
An adage in like every single endeavor, because you need the cause to have the effect. And I think technology and people in general try to make it where there is no cause, just effect, which I don't think is reality. It's not a law of nature. It's not normal. It's not reality. I don't believe in that. That's why what I call AI is advanced illusions, which I wrote about in my first book. I'm going to write again in my second one about it, because it's really convincing.
big ears, you're a writer.
It's very persuasive. I'll
Big
give you
ears.
that. Again, I did a video on the trailer for a movie for BioShock, an 80s thrill, which is more 60s, 70s in my opinion. And I felt something. Mostly because also I've heard that BioShock movie is going to be in the works, which I don't think that's possible for a number of reasons. If you played BioShock, you know. And yeah, but I see it as advanced illusions, because I've noticed in this country, at least, there's lots of delusion, which, again, I can't speak for other countries, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's other places where there's lots of ideas and nobody knows what the cost is, or nobody knows what to put in for. It's like you need the rule of alchemy, the law of transmutation, the law of critical exchange. Something of equal value must be given to get something back. Now, that usually means silver to gold, or a philosopher's stone, but I don't think those exist. Not gold and silver, they exist, but like turning silver into gold and doing this other stuff, I mean, it's a pipe dream. And I think what people are trying to do is turn air into something, or make something magical out of the mundane. And again, I've actually used story generators recently and ChatGPT. And again, it's not groundbreaking. It's not like I don't feel threatened by it. And I really don't have a choice, because I either have to accept my creative limitations or accept its, which I don't think it has any limitations. You see, there's people on this platform, other platforms, making AI videos, thousands of AI videos, these faceless accounts, which I've seen people actually say do that for money, which I'm good. It's not really a matter of pride, just self-respect and want to do things myself.
There's some AI slopper hate, which I have seen some YouTubers getting mad about the AI tools for video creation, which I can understand. I was watching one YouTuber saying that if they don't have the technical ability, they shouldn't do it. That's fair, okay? Because I'm trying to learn. I've grew up with YouTube. I never learned what to do with them. I'm trying to learn better. And again, I think it'd be a nice exercise to just go back and watch some old videos and figure out what I can do better. Any hints and tips from the chat would be great. But yeah,
teach their own. If you use it, I don't think any less of you, but this is my path. This is what I chose, and I'm walking it one step.
I say that a lot in these older videos. If you notice, if you watch a lot of them, I do say stuff like that because I was trying to make it work. I started thinking I was sending a message, but I'm kind of over that. So yeah, let's go
at a time. And yeah, again, alchemy of ideas, which again, you're trying to. I put my money into story.com. I put my money into one of these products, and they pop out something. Something remarkable. That's not how it works. For instance, when I first wrote my first book, I got scammed a little bit here and there about making a bestseller, which that's not under my control. I can't make people love my book. I can't make people buy my book. I can't make people make the time to read or watch it. It's a lot of luck and positioning and leverage, which those last two, I don't think I've got a lot of. I've had some good videos here and there, but not super consistently. Consistency makes champions. That's my motto. And yeah, But again, I don't want to take the easy way out. I don't want to take this route that's just been predetermined. I have really bad
So pretentious.
ideas of going with the norm anymore, especially after going to college. And it's been a nightmare ever since, honestly. Trying to get a job, trying to get respect, and just I
Nobody
cast the illusion on
cares.
myself when it came to college, thinking I could be intelligent with a piece of paper too, and that's not the real world. Okay, now I'm thankful that I have options, that I have methods of getting rid of my school debt that I will not go into here, but don't worry about me. I've got plans. I'm going to go on them. Now, I have some more stories planned, which I'm going to do a video maybe tomorrow or the next day, whenever, and talk about them. I'm going to try to be much better. I have to move into my new place, which I think will be much better for my health. It's very cramped in my RV. I also don't know how people do it all year round. I've lived in one about 2 years, and I think I've got my fill.
Yeah, I don't know how people do that. To kudos to anybody watching this from an RV. I have nothing against you. It's just I don't know, and it kind of annoys me that we're kind of being forced into that because I'd rather pay for $100,000 RV than a $600,000 house. And everything I'd have to upgrade every 10 years or so for the RV. So honestly, I'm probably not coming ahead, but just the idea that there's people out there who have the gall, the nerve, the lack of humanity to make something turn a house into a commodified asset was one of the worst things I think ever happened to the world. Every country does it. Every country does it. I'll give them that. No one's above it. We hear it all the time about the young not being able to get some housing and stuff.
Now, houses don't ever go down price. I'll think about it again, but I want to buy a newer one, a nicer one, a bigger one.
Sorry about that. Burped.
I think you can live in this one I've got, but you've got to make a lot of trade-offs, which I don't feel like doing. But you never know. I can't see into the future. College taught me anything. And yeah, again, alchemy of ideas versus what I believe is an advanced illusion. Because again, you're not the real McCoy if you're using it for your artistic endeavors. I'm gonna say that right now. You just make money, fine. Money doesn't care. Money doesn't respect you. Money doesn't love you. Money's just a resource. And I'm looking for something more, as vain, as pretentious as that may sound. And I hope to make some better books. I'm hoping to get a deal soon for some more exposure, but we'll see. It's up in the air. Can't reveal anything right now, but down the line. Okay, and I can't wait to have something concrete on that front. So I thank you all for watching.
Still
Again, thank you, my audience.
I still got nothing.
I'd like you.
Still got nothing on that front. So yeah, seeing the ideas of AI through alchemy, and the other medieval mindset was more of a hodgepodge. Mine was more of just a general, the idea of motivation, discipline, effort. How we can't really decouple ourselves from that. We really can't. A lot of people think we can. We can't. You need to sweat, bleed, cry, whatever you want to do, but get the job done. So yeah. So thank you all. This was an impromptu stream. I was kind of doing it just to show you that. Thank you all who listened and watched. Thank you. Have a nice night.